APPLES. How you like them? Saw you on the internet. You a hot mess. Sheena Shea's new song just dropped. It's called Apples, and it's been stuck in my that and Erica Jane's Drip Drop. Like when I hit it with my lip gloss. I've been in a mood today. I'm excited because we are going to be chatting all about the Heather McDonald, Justin Martindale feud. I have Jacques Peterson from the Unpopular Podcast. He's going to be breaking it down because he's got a little bit of insider tea. He's got a little tea, and I've got a goblet of wine. So you never know what's going to come out of my mouth tonight, but I'm ready for it. Let's go. Oh, hi, it's me, Zack Peter, pop culture junkie, reality TV insider, published author, and host of the No Filter with Zack Peter podcast. Here I'll bring you all the latest news on the Real Housewives, deep dives into celebrity legal scandals, and unfiltered convos with your favorite stars. I've got you covered. And yes, I always keep receipts. So be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for all the latest tea. Now, let's dive in. Ready? Please welcome from the Unpopular Podcast, the very controversial guy on Twitter and on Instagram stories, the one and only, my friend, Jacques Peterson.
Hey, thanks for having me back. I should have known you were drinking when I saw you just bring that wine thing because you've been singing like what we've been setting up behind the scenes. You've been singing to like Sheena and slurring the whole time. And then when you pulled that wine out, I'm like, it makes sense now.
Well, I'm glad to have a friend that I'm not feuding with on my live stream today.
Finally, right? I mean, we could feud one day. You know, I've been thinking about that because
all people, like, we've never feuded. We've never had beef.
Well, I've been thinking about it because obviously we're going to talk about Justin and Heather. And I've kind of been like, hypothetically, what if I fell out with Zach? I'm like, how would I go about it? Because I kind of have a rule where if you're like are friends with somebody, like actually friends with somebody, which we are, and then you have a falling out, you should not go and like trash their name. And I'm like, I don't know if I was just it's hard thing. I think if we fell out, I would probably just try to keep to the facts, but I wouldn't do a character assassination like I feel like Justin Martindale is doing.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, you wouldn't tell people that I try to fuck your husband.
Yeah, I would not go that low. Like that's where their line is. It's kind of like if you want to air it out and you have an audience and they kind of like want to know the tea or whatever and what happened with you and so, you can I think you can keep it vague. You can go, look, we had a business deal, it didn't work out, something like that. But then when you start going to levels of like, well, they did this to me or they're transphobic or whatever, it's a bit like, okay, you're actually trying to like really tear this person down.
Yeah, when you make accusations like that, like it really does become a character assassination. So give me your like high level recap of what's been going down, because I've been trying to follow what's going on with I listened to his podcast. I know Heather's had her side of it. Give us the briefing on what has gone down objectively. I know you're a Heather apologist, but objectively, what is
I am a Heather apologist. Okay, oh my god, this is hard because now there's so many pieces to it and like new things keep happening every minute. So I first saw that they had fallen out. I didn't know, but he was leaving comments on Facebook about it going like enough with the gaslighting and the bullying or something like that. He's leaving all these comments and I'm going to tell my side of the story. People are sending it to me. He's like, I'm going to go on my podcast and tell you guys what really happened. I'm thinking, "Oh shit." So he goes on his podcast. He does about half an hour. There's a lot in there. I mean, you heard his episode, right? So
he came out, he told his side of the story. She has come out and told her side of the story. She hasn't done that yet.
She's sort of told. Okay, that's the thing. She's sort of told her side of the story. I don't think she's told her full side of the story, which is why there's a lot of misunderstandings. But
hers is all behind a paywall, right? Hers is all on Patreon. His was on his free podcast.
Yes, and also, well, okay, we'll get into that because there's a lot to that. But Justin, the version that Justin put out, he was very emotional. One of the first things that he said was something like, well, I thought she was an ally to the LGBT. And as soon as he said that line right at the top of his thing, I'm like, okay, so you're about to lay out a case that she is a bigot, basically, which is what he did for the whole half an hour. He said that she didn't want to do this drag queen telethon with him. She he said that I don't know, like she's narcissistic, things like that. He said that she blocked him from doing Jeff Lewis's show. He made like a lot of
Yeah.
accusations.
So, but she initially did a Patreon, right, where she talked about there was like a pool party that she wasn't invited to, and so he was responding to a Patreon that she did.
No, so okay, that's where people, there's a lot of misinformation about this, and I have the facts on it, and I have the tea, and I've been following it very closely. So the way this happened was, you know what the fans are like, where they can tell if they can usually figure out if someone's not friends anymore because they're like,
Yeah.
oh, you guys used to post with each other all the time and now you don't. Then they get involved because
Yeah.
you know what these fucking Facebook fans are like. They love to get on their subreddit and go, oh my God, I think he unfollowed this person, and like stir it and make things worse than they are.
And there's
So it's a mess. So he went on some radio show and a fan called up and said, oh, what happened with you and Heather? He said something about it. I don't think he went like in deep, but he addressed it. So then the fans get that. Then they all start harassing Heather, going, what happened with you and Justin? He said something about this.
Oh, it was
So
John
she-
Hill's show. That's what people are saying.
Yes.
On John Hill's show, and he lightly addressed it. Heather kept dodging and deleting questions about it.
Well, because she didn't want to make it into a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm seeing the thing there. Yes, Kristen's. I know Kristen. Yes, shout out Kristen. She didn't want to make it a thing, by the way, because people, again, another misconception. I think people think that she was trying not to make it into another Megan Weaver situation, is my understanding of it, because that was such a mess, and it's just not good PR to have two big fights. So she's trying to sweep it away. So on the highest tier of her Patreon, which is like $20 a month, she addresses it, but she doesn't give details. She's not getting into the nitty gritty of it at all. She makes, just a comment about like we're having a break from each other and he's a bit over the drama, something like that. It was a very light commentary. And then he took that is when he did his half an hour podcast publicly about framing her as a bigot, as a transphobe. Even if he doesn't say that explicitly, that was the implication. Like you could see he was building that case.
Yeah.
You got that from it, right?
Yeah, that's what I got, is that he was trying to take it in that direction, because he said that there was an event, there was a charity event. Well, one, he said she didn't pay her people, but eventually she started paying her regulars on her podcast. And then
I'm not being paid for this, by the way, guys, just so you know, it's not how podcasting works.
You're not a regular. You're not a regular, not like a monthly, weekly regular. So yes, and he said that he wasn't getting paid, and then eventually she started paying him like $300 an episode. And then he said that there was this trans fundraiser that he was hosting that he wanted her to participate in, and she said no, she didn't want to because her audience wouldn't like that. And then he said that he wanted to go on Jeff Lewis Live, but Jeff Lewis told him that Heather said that he wasn't allowed to go on Jeff Lewis Live. I think those are the three biggest accusations that he made against her: transphobic, blocking her from going on Jeff Lewis, and what was the first one? Oh, not paying him, but eventually she started paying him.
Yeah, not paying him. Oh, and then also there was this thing about this pool party where, look, Heather McDonald she's known for having this crazy FOMO where whenever people do things without her, she gets annoyed, messages them, etc. And I think she's like copped to that. Now, she had addressed that actually on Juicy Scoop with him, because I was listening to that episode and she sort of brought it up, and I thought she was bringing it up, my take on it. And I get that she's insecure and stuff, but like I felt like she was doing it as like a shtick, like it was funny. Like, and I thought it was funny because she has the reputation. Like people are always saying, oh, she's so thirsty, etc. And she kind of leans into it. So I thought she was trying to make that as a joke. And then you could actually see in that moment, Justin was feeling a bit annoyed. Like, hey, I don't have to invite you to everything kind of thing. So that's more of just a personal little tiff of like, you find someone annoying. You know what I mean? Like that is what it is. So I feel like you can put that to the side and just go, okay, maybe she was being annoying. Maybe he was annoyed by her behavior and leave that. So,
and the other accusation was that he did a podcast and he made a joke about a serious movie, and then people in the comments were calling him a groomer, and they were kind of dragging him in his comments. He wanted her to either defend him or delete the comments. She didn't delete the comments, but he said he knew that she was reading the comments because he could see that she was liking comments and responding to other comments, but that's not something she addressed or was kind of willing to have his side on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. Okay, so what happened? I went and did a Patreon on it as soon as he dropped his podcast, I actually recorded a Patreon about it, and I was talking about a lot of things, and I talked about that, and I talk about Heather a lot on my show. I find her very entertaining. If you guys have ever watched the show The Comeback, and I say this with love, but I feel like she is Valerie Cherish from The Comeback, so I'm kind of obsessed with her. In that regard, and I totally get a kick out of her. So whenever she has drama with people, like I covered when she had a feud with Chrissy Teigen, I talked about the Megan Weaver thing, like I just cover that naturally. So I did a podcast about it, and then I said in that podcast, funnily enough, I said, guys, just so you know, keep this behind the paywall, because I'm like, I'm just speaking freely with you guys, etc. And I'm like, I don't want you isolating, because I criticized her on like two things. One, I said you should have defended Justin, and I also said she was probably really annoying with the pool party situation. But the overall Patreon I did was to defend her, and I didn't want little trolls taking the one thing that I said negative out of context. But then I get a message from Heather the next day, hey, you know, can you call me? Because I know Heather, I've had lunch with her, but I wouldn't say we're friends. We've had two conversations in my whole life, which one was the conversation about Justin Martindale, and when I saw her in LA. And I think someone had maybe gotten in her ear, and I talked to her, and I got her full side of the story. I told her exactly what I said, and I'm going to give you her side of, I can't say everything that she told me, but I'm going to explain some of the things, and just so people are going to think, oh, is he just being her mouthpiece, or is he being biased by her? What she told me on the phone, 90-something% of that was the conclusion I had already drawn myself from listening to his show. And
hold on, I just want to also say, because people in the comments are like, you're defending Heather, you're dragging Justin. That's not, we're gonna get both, we're gonna talk about both sides of it. Like, just be fucking patient and let us get through the conversation. We're 11 minutes in. Let's have the conversation, because people are already getting excited. And okay, so what did you say on your Patreon, and what did Heather say to you when you talked to her?
Yeah, okay, so the thing about, I know people are annoyed, guys. I don't think everyone has the full facts on it. So the drag queen PSA is one. God, you know what? I should also add in, she has since addressed this on her Patreon, I have to say. And the Patreon that she did not really, I don't think it was the best Patreon that she did, because she didn't go too specific. Because I think she was like, I'm just going to address it broadly. A few things I'm not going to get right in there because I want it to go away. And I think it's backfired a little bit, because I think people need some more of the minutia with it. So with the drag queen situation, he said that, he framed her as a transphobe or whatever because she didn't want to do a PSA for a drag queen thing. She let him promote the drag queen on the drag queen charity thing that he was doing twice on her show. She asked him about it. She gave him the platform to talk about it. She put a link in there for it. The only thing was, no, she didn't film a PSA, but one, she has a rule of like not getting overly political on her show. And the PSA was for like a specific law in Tennessee. And she was like, look, I don't know enough about this law. Like I haven't looked into it. So I don't feel comfortable coming out and filming a whole PSA about some, them changing a freaking law out there. And she doesn't talk about politics too much on her show, but she let him, I think that's reasonable. She let him promote it. She asked him about it. She gave him the platform to share and get people over there to fundraise and stuff. So, and he's trying to say that or people are trying to say that she doesn't want to piss off her followers because she has some conservative followers that may not like that. That's fair. That's fair enough, because this is her business. This is where she makes her money. Look, you know me, so we're friends, right? Yeah. I go on rants about political things all the time. If I said, Zach, come and do a PSA for something political that I'm into, and you went, you would say no, and you would go, look, I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't want to piss off my audience. That's completely reasonable. So I feel like when he voiced his side of it, he didn't share the part where she actually let him come on her show and talk about it and promote it and put the link in the comments for it and everything like that. He just tried to make out like it was a blanket thing of she wouldn't support it. So I think that's kind of unfair. What's the next thing? There were so many things.
Okay, well, the transphobic thing. So, let's break it down piece by piece. So let's talk about the transphobic accusations. We're already there. So he said that he invited her to this event. She did not want to do the event. He claims that she told him it was because she didn't want to upset her audience, which I understand is a lot of very, conservative women that, follow her, whatever. They also like Kelly Dodd. Like, it kind of falls into that category. I don't think that it's a bad thing that she didn't want to participate in this event, because I think when things, listen, everybody's going to have their own stance when it comes to politics. We're not always going to agree on that. But like, I mean, if she gave him an opportunity to at least promote it on her show, that's, I think, at least something. It's better than nothing. I didn't know that he didn't say that, hey, at least we talked about it on her show. He didn't give that context. I'm not like, I don't think because she didn't want to participate in an event that makes her transphobic. And I'm saying this because there are a bunch of, straight white women in the live chat that want to like say she's transphobic. And I'm like, okay, well, if two people can have a little more clout on the topic of the gay community, of the LGBTQA, B, C, D, E, F, G community, then it's me and Jacques, because we're fucking from the gay community. So we can, we're in that community, and we can have a little bit more, more of a say in that influence there. But I don't think
she's had transgender people on her show too, by the way.
She's not anti-trans. And if you're going to call somebody transphobic, or you're going to lead people to believe that someone is transphobic, it's the same thing as what he was claiming she was doing about not defending him with the groomer comments that, he was getting. But she never led people to believe that he was a groomer. They were just people in her comments that were dragging him as a groomer. So I get it. I don't love that for him, that his friend didn't want to show up to this event to support him or do a speech or whatever. I don't think that, like, I understand his, him being upset or hurt by that, and that's valid. But at the same time, I also understand her not wanting to participate in that. And here's the thing, your friends are not always going to be able to do or want to participate in every little single thing that you do or participate in, especially when there is a political element to it. And I don't think it is a, it makes you a bad friend. I just think people have different priorities. And I think, the reality is Heather's priority is her audience, and Heather's priority is protecting her money and protecting her show. And she knows that her audience is predominantly conservative women, and that's just a priority for her. And he has other priorities elsewhere. So I don't think that makes her transphobic.
She has a thing on her.
There has to be an element of hatred, and there has to be an element of fear. And I don't think Heather has either of those.
Yeah, well, she has a thing on her show, which has always been her show, where she's like, I don't talk about politics. I don't talk about politics. So I just feel like it was specifically about changing a law, and it was to film a PSA about a law. Like, that's very political. So, I mean, it's completely reasonable to go, hey, you can come on and promote the thing. Yeah. She's had transgender people on the show. She had Gigi Gorgeous on. She's had other people like that. She's been totally respectful. She does have a big gay following. I mean, I don't think her audience is just soccer mums. Conservative soccer mums. I know that's what people put out there. Of course, that is a portion. I would say she has a higher ratio of that compared to some of the other pop culture shows, largely because she isn't political, because a lot of the other pop culture shows will make things political all the time. Like they'll make it about Trump, or they'll make it about whatever, and she doesn't do that. So she ends up naturally getting a lot of those people. But there's that part to it, yeah. And Justin should have shared that whole story instead of just making out like she wouldn't support my thing.
I understand his point, but at the same time, I'm also like, but you know what you're doing when you bring up something like that, and you kind of just drop that out there without adding additional context. And it is a bit of a character hit. You are trying to malign someone's character by associating them with something. Okay, so moving on from the transphobic accusations, or the conjecture, or the inference that she may be transphobic, then there's the friend comments, where he says that he made a comment on her podcast, and then everybody was dragging him as a child molester, a groomer, whatever, because he made a joke about a movie. I believe it was about child sex trafficking.
Yes. It's this huge movie that's come out. It's called The Sound of Freedom. It's about child trafficking. A lot of right-wing people are into it. I think it was funded by basically liberal, whatever, the liberal Hollywood didn't want to endorse the movie, and then some right-wing people funded it, and now it's it's breaking box office records or something. They mentioned it briefly on the podcast. I'm sorry, I'm just seeing some of the comments. And apparently he was getting hate comments from certain people about it. There's two parts to that. So one, he feels like she didn't defend him against the hate comments. Two, he accused her of liking negative comments that are saying he's a groomer and stuff like that. Now, okay, where to start with that? Okay, so I know that in terms of her, I mean, she's explained this a little bit on her Patreon. I don't think she explained it the best, but she has a lot of trolls. Like, she has a lot of trolls. There's literally a subreddit right now that's just dedicated to hating on her and dissecting everything that she says and that she does. Her reasoning for not coming up and defending him was one, it was a very small fraction of her audience. She does have a huge audience. Like, I think her podcast is getting like 500,000 downloads or something, an episode. Like, she has really big numbers. That's a small part, but the trolls can be a lot. I don't like getting trolled, but I think her thing was like, if I come up here and address it, because you should just ignore it. It's going to make it worse. It's going to give the trolls what they want
Yeah.
because they want that reaction from you. If I come and talk about it, then everyone else that is not aware of this, because 99% of our audience is probably not even aware that there's even a troll situation going on. Okay, it's just Justin getting some comments. And she was getting the bad comments as well, by the way. It was both of them. They were both getting troll comments. Then people are going to start asking questions going, oh, Heather went on her Instagram and she addressed that, there were trolls. Well, and it just makes it bigger and bigger. Now, I can understand from his perspective where he feels like you still should have stepped in, but I think there's like another element to her. She was coming from a place of not wanting to make it worse, whereas he's framing it like she comes from a place of like she's just cold and doesn't care that he's getting, homophobic attacks.
Yeah. My pushback to that is there's a way to do it without drawing more attention to it, and I know this because obviously I opened up about a feud that I had recently, in a situation that happened over the weekend, and people were coming to me saying that they were directing a lot of negativity in that other direction. I very much just came on my podcast and I was like, listen, guys, we're not going to do that. We're not going to lower ourselves to that low vibration bullshit of sending out hatred or negativity. We're going to keep it positive. If you have something nice and supportive to say it to me or leave it in the comments here, but we're not going to direct that negativity elsewhere. And I shut it down immediately. When that is your friend, and I know this because I've been in situations with that same person where I would get dragged in their comments and I'd be like, hey, this kind of like makes me feel a type of way that your supporters are dragging me in this type of way. And I would kind of get that same reaction of like, no, don't read into it. I don't read the comments. I don't look at that. Don't pay attention to that. They're just whatever. And it's like, it does hurt you because it's like when you do feel like there is a friendship, you want your friends to be able to stand up for you. And they can do it in a way that doesn't make it bigger, that very lightly touches on it. Like the trolls are always going to be the trolls, but there is a way to do it that doesn't fan the flames, but that also shows a little support to your friends. So the transphobic stuff, I will say, I don't think she's transphobic. The comments, I think there could have been a better way she could have handled that.
Yeah, I get that, but it would also be like, okay, when I get off this podcast with you, I'm going to get hate of people going, oh my God, he's just defending Heather. She's the worst. Like, stop having him on, or he's too controversial or whatever. It would be kind of weird, I feel like, if then I was messaging you going, oh my God, Zack, like you have to put out a statement like on my behalf. Like you've got to talk about this because there's a negative comments. Like you probably would be like, Jacques, just ignore it. And you put your phone down.
But if it bothered you, I'd be like, listen, guys, come on. Jacques is not going to come back on my podcast. So if you don't like it, you need to deal with it. He's my friend, and I'm still going to have him back when I feel it's appropriate to have him on the podcast when there's a topic that I think we can both talk about. And I think my audience knows that, like, that's just what it is. You have to have that relationship with your audience. Otherwise, they're going to always dictate and determine what you're going to do. If you don't have that, if you're not the conductor of your train, they're going to drive your train for you. I'm not about that. I operate in a very different way. I don't understand that mentality of like, if this does affect my friend, I don't care what my audience responds to that because that's not my priority. My priority is the person that I care about. So if that does affect my audience in some way, then I will deal with that and I will I will fix that however I need to fix that down the line. If somebody's important to me, I will always stand up for them regardless of that situation. So in this case, I think Heather could have done it better, but maybe this is a learning opportunity for her to, be able to learn and support her friends better in the future.
Yeah, no, I totally hear that. And I can see why Justin would have got frustrated by that for sure. So like I get it. And okay, wait, the other thing was about her liking negative comments. So what happened on this was that he said she was specifically just liking comments calling him like a groomer or something, things like that, nasty comments. So her response to this, and I think she said this on her Patreon, was that she just likes every single comment that is posted on her post, which she does because I've been on her Patreon for a long time. When you scroll down that list of comments, you see the little heart thing next to every single one because she just goes through going tap, 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 tap. And you know what? I do that too with my DMs. Like, I mean, I read a lot of you guys' DMs, of course, but you know, sometimes you just wake up and you've got so many, and I just get OCD about my inbox and I just go through tap, tap, tap. Like, it doesn't always mean that I endorse it. Now, I think what happened was people trying to start shit took screenshots of just out of context some of the negative ones, sent it to Justin, framed it like she's only liking negative comments, calling you a groomer, etc.
Yeah.
And then he's reacted to that because I was just like, look, I know a lot of people don't like Heather. Like, trust me, I'm a Heather defender, and I know a lot of people, you know, there's a lot of people that don't like her, and I defend her a lot. But as someone that's listened to her for a really long time, I know people feel like, you know, she's thirsty. Why is she hanging out with Vanderpump Rules people all the time? Like, I hear all the criticisms, but like, she's just not gonna be like random, like intentionally liking comments about one of her one of her regular guests. That's just not logical. Like, she's just not gonna do that, and then not like nice comments. So that's been completely twisted, and he should have known that too. Like, I'm surprised he reacted so big to that.
I think it kind of just got to a point where it was convenient to put everything together and to lay it out in this way. And I think, he's taking advantage of that moment. Again, I don't think he's entirely wrong in, his feelings and him being hurt by their friendship. And I don't think she's entirely right. I think, listen, sometimes Heather does have a way of, I mean, it's not too much of a coincidence that there's, him, and she's had other feuds with other people, and there was just the Megan Weaver stuff very recently. I think sometimes she comes across a way that rubs people the wrong way. And I've known Heather for many years. I don't think she remembers who I am, but I also used to work with her very much when, I was with Jenny McCarthy's foundation, and Heather would do fundraisers for us to raise money for the foundation. And we would do comedy shows together and whatnot. And, I understand how maybe sometimes she unintentionally will rub people the wrong way. I get that. I don't know. I feel like when it comes to the comment stuff, I just feel like, there are ways to support your friends, and you shouldn't let them get dragged in the comments. Okay, so we talked about the trans stuff. We talked about the comments. Let's talk about Payne, and then we'll get into the Jeff Lewis. So he was saying that initially they weren't being paid to come onto our podcast as a regular. This is interesting, and we're both podcast hosts. I don't think I have people that are quote unquote regulars on my podcast, but I do have people like you that have been on, quite a few times, but I wouldn't, be like, okay, we like come on monthly, come on weekly, whatever. And even when there have been, times where there have been regular, I've been a regular on someone's YouTube channel or whatever, there's never been an expectation that I would get paid. It's more of like, we're supporting each other. And if somebody has a big platform, then like there is also that added element of the exposure that you get from it. And let's be honest, a lot of us are talking about Justin Martindale because Juicy Scoop is a really big podcast, and Heather McDonald had him on her podcast. Like that, we can't ignore the fact that there was exposure that was gained as a result of that.
Yeah, 100%. He did her show. He kept bringing up, I've done her show 30-something times. By the way, she pays for live shows, so when you come to her live show, you do get paid for that. And so yes, you do get paid for a live show. The podcast, it is exposure. It's not... Look, we're both in the industry. That's what's normal in the industry is you don't pay people to do podcasts. You do it for the exposure. Now, people can work out a private deal of getting paid for a podcast for sure if that's what they want to do, but generally no, you're doing it for the exposure. And I feel like the way he's bringing stuff up out of context a lot, like the drag queen thing, and this is sort of the same. He's a bit like, well, I didn't get paid. It's like, no one gets paid for doing podcasts. He also said that then she started paying him from like May, so it's like, okay, well, it sounds like it was an issue that you raised and now you are being paid. So you had 33 shows to raise this anyway.
Yeah, and
so
also, no, well, I was just saying in regard to, even getting paid at all, like that's kind of how it was with Chelsea lately. Like when they were all regulars on the roundtable, they've all talked about like they didn't get paid very much. They got paid like a couple $100 to do the roundtable because again, it is a platform that you are coming on. You're coming on somebody else's show. There is a built-in audience. You don't have to promote it because the audience is going to show up and watch regardless. So it's not like you're helping to bring in the numbers. The numbers are there, and you're just getting to be a part of the party.
Yeah, 100%. Heather said she just went and did Watch What Happens Live. She didn't get paid for that.
No.
She went out herself to go
She's
and watch
also
What
not
Happens Live.
she's also not a regular in Watch What Happens Live, though.
Yeah, no, I know, but like, you just don't get paid for doing those things. Like, you can do people's shows all the time, and you do it for the exposure. Her platform is huge, and I pointed out as well. Her platform isn't just big; it's very engaged, which I think is kind of why she's one of the biggest podcasters in the game, because she doesn't just have people that passively listen. There are a lot of people
Yeah.
in this industry that you see, they go, oh, they have a big following. They cannot convert those followers into sales. They cannot convert those followers into wine sales, into Patreon subscriptions, etc. Like, they can't. She has a very, very high engagement rate because people are very invested in her. That is a huge platform. I did not know who Justin Martindale was before
Yeah.
he started doing Juicy Scoop. I'm not saying he was irrelevant, because people are going to go, hey, he was on Joe Rogan. He was on, I'm sure he was. I'm just saying that there's a big portion of the audience
People that weren't familiar with him that are familiar now. Yeah, because Rachel's over here saying, I didn't think it's fair to say I didn't say all of his successes were from her podcast, sweetheart. We said that there was exposure. I said I did not hear of him outside of Heather's podcast. We wouldn't be talking about him on my podcast had he not been a part of Heather's podcast. So there is an element of that. We're not saying
clearly
all of his success is because of Heather. So let's take a chill pill.
Yeah, and clearly he saw a benefit to doing the show, because you went on there 30-something times. So I just feel like if you're going to be going on willingly, and you know what and girl, I'm telling you, he's not getting paid for doing, I know that Jeff Lewis pays people, which is a serious type of thing, but like, that's like an outlier in the industry. Like, people don't do that.
Not only that, but let's be clear, Jeff Lewis isn't signing the paychecks for those people. SiriusXM is signing the paychecks for those people. Juicy Scoop is 100% produced and owned by Heather McDonald. So any checks that are signed from Juicy Scoop come from Heather. Just like you or I, if we were to pay people on our show, which I have in the past, it's out of your own pocket. It's not because there's a network that can front that bill for you. So Jeff Lewis paying people regularly is not from Jeff Lewis's personal bank account. That's from the budget that comes from SiriusXM and Radio Andy.
Yeah, and then what happens is he gets to go on there and he can promote his podcast. He can promote his comedy shows. She always lets the guests do that. If you watch her show, she'll go, what do you have coming up? And they go, I'm playing at the Laugh Factory on the 27th, and, come and buy tickets, and the links are there. She let him promote the drag queen thing. She let him promote like whatever the fuck he had going on and wanted to promote on that big ass platform. And then to suddenly come out and be like, oh my God, I didn't get paid and I did this many shows. It's like, girl, again, you're kind of like taking this. I was seeing what the comments said. Justin didn't ask for payment. Kristen brought it up unbeknownst to him. Let's have well, he's complaining about it on his podcast, so Jamie Lee.
Yeah, he complained about it on his podcast. That was one of his talking points, was that they don't get paid. So regardless of how it came up to him, that was one of the talking points that he had about why he had an issue with Heather. Jeff was reimbursed by SiriusXM. Yeah, whether he pays for it out of pocket, he still gets it back from SiriusXM fronts all of the money for the show that gets produced. Like, it's the responsibility of them.
But wait, can I just say that even if he is paying it out of pocket and he's not getting reimbursed, that doesn't even matter, because that's a decision he's made. But that's like a one-off in the industry. You do not get paid for doing podcasts. That's just how it works. Generally, you do not.
Yeah, he does he gets reimbursed from SiriusXM for doing that. That's a nice thing that he has taken the liberty of taking the initiative on, but that is paid for by SiriusXM.
Yeah, and you made a good point. She's independent.
And it's different because, yes, and it's different. Even if that is the case, even if he were paying for it out of pocket, it's very different. Every expense for the show, Heather pays for herself. Jeff has a network and a studio that books him ad revenue, that keeps the lights on. Heather pays to keep her own lights on. And I'm just saying that as an independent podcaster myself, I understand that sometimes it would be nice to have somebody like SiriusXM pay my bills.
Wait, and can I just add another thing? Because we have more to get into. We have more to break down on this, because there's definitely there's more stuff to this. But I also, and I feel like you get it because you're in the industry. That's why when we've been talking privately, because everyone's really coming for her head. And I thought that maybe you would be as well. And you haven't, because you get the industry. But just because you see people having great chemistry on a podcast, or hanging out together socially, that doesn't mean that they're best friends. That's not the same as a real life friend. There is a lot of different versions of friends. You have real friends, you have friendly business acquaintances. There's a lot of levels, especially in the media scene, in the Hollywood scene. It's always very weird. You know, I'm a journalist at the Daily Mail, and I sometimes make friends with people that are in the public eye, and I kind of don't know, is this just a thing because it's mutually beneficial because they're, you know, a source for me for stories, or is it? So I don't know. I think people have this vision of Justin and Heather were like, you know, Will and Grace, and it's like they're not really. They're actually just kind of both comedians that are sort of like working together and like hang out sometimes for fun, but I don't think they were like best friends.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think they were industry friends. They were podcast friends, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say that they were best friends. Okay, so paying him eventually, she ended up paying him. He was getting $300. I think they've both been very clear that that he was paid, or anyone there was paid for live shows that were done. Which, you know. Okay, so we talked about pain, we talked about transphobic, we talked about the friends' comments. So Jeff Lewis blocking him, because now Jeff Lewis has come out, and Jeff Lewis has said that it is true that Heather did tell him not to have Justin on Jeff Lewis Live.
Yeah, okay, so there's layers to this. So when I just want people to know that Heather's not in my ear. I had one conversation with her, but majority of this stuff is the conclusions I came up with on my own. So the first Patreon that I did on my Patreon, which I actually ended up deleting because then there were trolls from the Heather McDonald hate page coming onto my Patreon and talking shit about me, and I was like, I'm not trying to get dragged into it in this way, but Justin said this on his podcast. So Justin was out at some event. Jeff Lewis comes up to him and goes, "Oh, you know, Justin, I think you're so hilarious. I would love to have you on my serious show, but I can't because, you know, I have to ask permission from Heather." And he was like, "Wait, what?" Jeff did that. Okay, wait. I'm getting all my thoughts muddled up. Okay. Jeff knew what the fuck he was doing when he came up and did that. One, he was trying to throw Heather under the bus and be shady and be messy because he wanted to create drama, and he wants to create drama for his fucking serious show, because his serious show, it's like a reality show in radio form, and anytime anyone has drama on that show, they talk about it and they air it out. So there's that part to it. The other part to it is, I think he misrepresented how that conversation with Heather went, because now people are calling Heather a liar, saying she denied it. I'm going to break that down as well. My take from that, from the jump, when I heard Justin say that, was not that Heather went out and said, "You can't have my guests on your show," and being a bitch about it. My take on it was that they have a lot of overlapping guests. She had Brandy and Julie first, I believe, this comedic duo, Brandy and Julie. Then they went and when they went over to Jeff Lewis and started doing his show all the time, and then that actually ended up going pear-shaped because they had a falling out with Jeff Lewis. But they have a lot of crossover, and Heather has been friends with Jeff Lewis for a long time. I believe she would have said to him, kind of in a friendly way, like, "Hey, you know, Jeff, just, you know, we have so many overlapping guests. You know, you've had a lot of guests on that I've had on first, and could you just please let me know if you want to have Justin on?" Maybe it was because she didn't want to make sure that the shows were going to overlap, but they weren't going to do it at the same time. Maybe she just wanted it as a heads up as a friend. But you have to remember as well, these friendships they're friendships, but they're also rivals in business, and they have rival shows, and they're in the same thing. And that's it's very reasonable to say that. And sorry to ramble, but I'll say, you know, we talk a lot off camera, you and me. Yeah. And I've said to you, "Oh my God, you should have this person on your show. You should have that person on your show." I message that to you all the time. Yeah. And there was like one person, and I was going to go, "She'll be great on Zack." And then I kind of went, you know what? I'm like, no, I don't want to give Zack everyone. I'm like, I just want to keep this person for Unpopular. And then I didn't pitch it to you. That's normal. There's nothing shady about that. You know, I just kind of thought, no, I want this to be my person. Because, you know, I do message you and I say you should have this person and that person. Yeah. There was someone else I was going to do that. I thought, no, I want to keep them for me. That's totally normal. So Jeff misrepresented that, and he went and blabbed it to Justin to cause drama 100%. And who was the common denominator with Megan Weaver and Heather falling out. Jeff Lewis. I think Jeff Lewis was probably in fucking Megan Weaver's ear too, and some of what she said was coming from him.
I think Jeff is messy. Yes, I do think that Jeff is messy and likes to stir the pot and likes to stir up drama. And I think it helps the ratings on his show because then they discuss it on his show and then it becomes a thing, right? However, I don't like that territorial thing of you can't have this person if they're mine and blah blah blah. Like I don't play that bullshit. I don't like that bullshit. Again, I've been on the receiving end of that bullshit with someone that where I don't like when I've never, ever, ever either held somebody back or not told somebody to do somebody else's show, whether I have a personal relationship or a falling out with them or whatever. That's not how I operate. I understand that that's a lot how our community and how our industry operates. Hey, what is going on? Calm down. I understand that that's how our industry operates a lot, but that's just not how I operate. So I can see it, yes, but I don't relate to it, no, because I just don't think that that's a productive way to help our community grow. I think recommending other people onto other shows helps them. And it's just, I don't lose anything if you're going to go and do Jeff Lewis live because you can do my show and you can do Jeff's show. And to me, I don't lose anything from that. There are plenty of other people that I can call to come on the show that would be happy to come on my show. And there are plenty of other shows that I can refer them to, because I just think, I mean, listen, but I'm generous in an orgy. I think we can all come and share, I don't think that I'd like you, so I'm just going to keep you and come inside you. Like, no, let's have many people come inside you.
Girl. Okay, I totally disagree with you on this. I get what you're saying, but the thing is, she didn't say, he cannot do your show. She could have just said, give me a heads up if you want him to, please let me know. Because the thing is, again, she built a lot of these people up. I'm not saying that they were irrelevant beforehand. They clearly had careers. But I mean, they get to a different new big audience. They get a lot of engagement. She always says that when people come on my show with like a book to sell, my audience buy their books. She gets that feedback all the time. I totally, what are they saying? Jeff Lewis, Heather blocked Justin from making a living. Girl, she paid him to go on tour.
That's a stupid comment. And he says he was very successful outside of Heather. So that's just a stupid, ignorant comment.
I know, that's so stupid. No, I think she was saying it to Jeff as a friend because it's kind of like she was having Brandy and Julie on all the time and they were getting, and then suddenly Jeff's like, I'm going to have them on Sirius. And it's like, they already have so many crossovers. And then Justin...
Or maybe she said it jokingly, because Heather does that too, where she'd be like, "No, bitch, that's mine. You can't have like you're gonna take that one too." Like that, like the context. Also, I will say that I can understand her because she does do that a lot, and the context may have gotten lost in that. And Jeff being messy may have,
he twisted the context of that. That's the take that I had, and I think the conversation between them went differently to how. Yeah. Jeff is, because then the thing is, right, so I think that Heather should have fully come out, her Patreon that she did responding to it did not come off that well, and I get she was damned if she does, damned if she doesn't, because if she comes in, right, and does her Patreon responding to all of this and gets emotional about it and goes, well, you want to know about Justin Martindale? Because he said all these things about her, about how she's a narcissist and stuff, which may be true. I don't know. I've only hung out with her once. She was very nice. She was polite to everyone. She tipped well. She was friendly to she could not have been nicer, my experience. I know other people say that she's annoying and that she's a narcissist or whatever. That could be true. And he said a lot of that on his show. Now, she could respond and go, well, you want to know about Justin Martindale? He's this and dramatic and blah, blah, blah. If she does that, then it's going to look like she's bitter and she's, bullying poor Justin Martindale because everyone's taking his side right now. So she tried to keep it brief and just stick to the facts, but then she didn't go in depth enough where people kind of feel like, because she didn't say everything, they're like, well, is she hiding something? Why isn't she being more emotional about this? I think in her mind, she's like, let me just quickly address some facts and keep it moving, but this thing has just gotten bigger, and I think she should have come out and really explained what the Jeff Lewis thing is, because when she explained it on her Patreon, she said, guys, no one has an exclusivity contract with me. Everyone's free to do whatever show they want to do. which is technically true. She didn't, block him from doing the show. She said to Jeff Lewis, let me know, or, whatever. And then Jeff Lewis then comes on his podcast and he goes, Heather's lying. And it's like, well, no, she's not lying. Like you're twisting this. And the fact that he is the one that even kicked this off in the first place with, if you're friends with Heather McDonald, why, even if she was being shady, which I don't think she was, but even if she was, why would you go up to Justin Martindale at an event and go, oh my God, I would love to have you on my show, but I just can't because of like Heather. It's like, girl, you know what you're doing. And at first as well, Jeff Lewis said, he came out the first day of this feud and he said, I'm not going to talk about this. I'm in a really good place with Heather now after we had our falling out. So I'm just going to let this go. Then the next day he comes on and goes, I can't be silent anymore when there's lies. And it's like, girl, you are doing some Lisa Vanderpump, like Tamra Judge level shit to stir this drama around these people, and you want content for your fucking serious show. Like 100% I think Jeff is doing that.
Okay. Anne Marie says, Jacques, the biggest issue is that she threw him to the wolves with death threats, etc. Okay, let's talk about the death threat situation, because I feel like people are throwing that around quite loosely these days. Like, what are we determining? I mean, I don't want to take away from, the reality of a death threat, yes. But also, I think, people have just gotten, I don't know, what
too sensitive.
Too sensitive, yes, I agree. Okay. You can respond to this comment because this comment's directed at you.
Okay, so what am I responding to, whether he's justified to react how he did to the death? I mean, look, everyone gets...
Yeah, they're saying you're deflecting.
So what am I? I'm deflecting about the death threats thing. Okay. Look, I acknowledge that she could have handled that differently. But I'm just yes. But my thing with that whole thing about the death. By the way, we all get death threats. Like the fucking troll nasty ask comments.
They're so unhinged.
They're so beyond. Like I was even talking to I won't say who it was, but a TikTok person that's in this space, and she has a full-blown stalker that is like trying to call her work to get her fired over political things.
People are insane. They're so creepy.
Yeah, in completely insane. Heather, and this was one of the things that she brought up, she had another comedian, a female comedian that thought that, a very liberal woke female comedian that thought that Heather is, conservative, whatever. I don't know what was triggering her. She made a fake profile in Heather's Juicy Scoop Obsessed book. She called it Karen, and it was like a caricature of what she thought would be a Heather McDonald fan, which is like this MAGA soccer mom. The comedian would do this under this character of Karen, would start political fights in the Facebook group. Like, it's insane. So yes, it's very full on with you. We all get it. So I feel like maybe Justin was being a little oversensitive to it because it's kind of just like part of the business. Now, I understand him getting, like, I get it. I get why he was upset that she didn't just step in, but I can see from her side, like, I don't think it's black and white. I can just see how her approach is like, I just don't want to make this bigger. There are trolls all the time. It happens all the time. If I address this, it's giving them what they want. It's going to snowball. That's kind of like my take on that part of it. And can I just say as well, like, I think Justin has his right to come out, and Jacques, no offense, but were you in this conversation? How do you know Jeff is twisting Heather, is telling the truth?
Here's the thing. I love you, Donna, but here's the thing. None of us were in these conversations. Even the people in the live chat that are like, hey, no, the facts. First of all, if you guys don't want to be here and you don't like our conversation, you're more than welcome to leave, number one. And number two, and that's not to you, Donna, that's to some of the other crazy comments. But no, none of us were in these conversations. But here's what we have. What we have is a podcast that Justin has put out and some vague details that Heather has put out. And so our job is to react to them, to dissect them, to discuss them, and to have commentary about them. We're not ABC News. We're not NBC. We're not here to give you the facts. We're here to give you commentary. We're podcasters, not reporters. And we're giving our thoughts and our opinions on the situation. Jacques and I are going to have the same opinion sometimes. We're going to have different opinions sometimes. It is what it is. We're having a conversation, guys. You're not watching ABC News right now. You're watching a conversation between two friends that happen to be podcasters that have an opinion on what the situation is.
Well, let me just add as well. Yes, we're podcasters. We're in the industry. I'm an editor at the Daily Mail.
Oh yeah,
I
you actually are. Sorry, you actually
yeah.
are a real reporter.
Well, no, but like, yeah, I'm an editor at the Daily Mail, but you're a successful host and a podcaster and you're doing all kinds of things. Like we are actually in the industry. We know all kinds of people in the industry, from talent in front of the camera, from
Yeah.
behind the camera. I am a fan of Heather McDonald's 100%. I've listened to her show for years and years, like honestly, since the beginning, since the Patreon. So I feel like I have an understanding of her personality. So when some of these things come up, I can go, well, with my understanding of Heather McDonald and then my understanding of how the business works and the industry, I can kind of go, you guys are seeing it one way, but I actually think she meant it like this way. You know what I mean? So we're not just coming from the perspective of we're in a let's hate Heather McDonald subreddit where we're like raging about everything. And yes, I have had a conversation with Heather about it. And like I'm saying, I can't say everything that she said. That's for her to say. And at this point, I almost hope she does just really like take the gloves off and say everything that's on her mind. I think, but again, I think she's damned if she does, damned if she doesn't, because I think whichever way she reacts, people are going to take negatively.
But she needs to then pick a reaction because she's not reacting. And if anything, it's just making it worse.
Well, she's trying to make it go away and it's not going away and it's making it worse. But I just know that then if she really comes out and says everything she wants to say, that's going to be people are already saying, right, because that the news of the morning is that she has lied about the conversation with Jeff Lewis. We just talked about it. I think that's been completely distorted. And I think that, and I like Jeff Lewis, by the way, and I think Jeff Lewis is really hot. I would love to sleep with Jeff Lewis, okay? I don't know. I just think I find him very attractive. It's random. But I think he's starting a lot of this shit 100%. I think he's misrepresenting things.
He's going to the bank with all of this because now everyone's listening, everyone's paying attention to Jeff Lewis Live, everyone's talking about Jeff Lewis Live. I'm still a little salty because I've tried to get on Jeff Lewis Live and I've been told that Jeff has no idea who I am, so he would never have me on. So I was like, okay, listen, Jeff is a cutie, whatever. I think his boyfriend's cuter, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Jeff has a presence that's attractive.
But he is messy and he knows what he's doing. And even when he doesn't try to be messy, he is messy. But he's doing what he's driving his ad rev on Sirius XM. Yeah. And you can't be mad at a man trying to get his bag.
Yeah, and I know I'm getting dragged in the comments, which I'm fine with because, hey, my show's unpop. People think that I have the fake on purpose to, like, get engagement. It actually doesn't help me. I just get trolled and, like, it's actually not good for me. People think that it's, like, a marketing strategy or something. Like, after doing this, I'm going to get the most fucking annoying ass Karens, which is going to ruin my day. I mean, the fucking message requests of people going, I can't believe you defended Heather, blah, blah, blah. I'm very confident in my opinions, and I'm very confident that this is going to be one of those situations where people think that it's one way, and when the dust settles and they look back on it, they're going to go, oh, I see the other side of this. Because here's the thing, it's one thing to have, this is my big problem with what Justin did, it's one thing to have a falling out with someone. And let's say a lot of the stuff about Heather is true, that she has a big ego, that she's annoying with the FOMO, like all of those like personality things, which that's different to like the business side of things. But to choose to go about it in a way where you go on a podcast and you set up a character assassination that someone is a bigoted, transphobe, homophobe in this climate, which can be very damaging and that's, a lot of trolls say that about her. I think that's where he went so below the belt. And if they were such good friends, I know people want to act like, I can't believe she would do this to her friend. What about what he's doing to his supposed good friend? Like, you could keep it about the business and say, look, I didn't like that, which I still think Jeff's stirring so much of it, but I didn't like that she didn't want me to do Jeff Lewis's show or whatever, and her personality started to grate on me, fine. When you purposely are setting this up to make her look like this huge bigot, and he knows what the fuck he's doing. Like you listen to that podcast, one of the first lines he says, like, well, I thought she was an ally, or she claimed to be an ally, something like that. The second he said that, I'm like, oh, I know where he's going with this podcast. And he spent this whole podcast dropping these breadcrumbs of like, she's a bigot, she's a transphobe, she has QAnon fans, they were sending me death threats. And it's just like, girl.
No, I get that. Because then it's also like, if you really did believe this about this person, then why did you stay friends with this person?
No.
That's my pushback to that. Because like I listen, and I'm trying to look at both sides. At the end of the day, I have no skin in this game. I don't care if Heather is the worst person or Justin is the worst person. It doesn't affect my life either way. I don't know these people personally. I've tried to have a very friendly relationship with Heather outside of, whatever, but like I don't have any skin in this game, so it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. But I don't listen. There are things that Heather has done that I don't necessarily love as a podcaster in this space. But I think you're right. That's a really good point to make of like, he's trying to make it seem like we were such good friends. And it's like, even if that is somebody that is your good friend, why would you do a character assassination on the podcast? I don't now about them talking about it. I don't love Heather hiding behind a paywall. So I do kind of love that he did this on his regular podcast for free. I don't hate that because I'm not the type that's gonna like save the exclusive tea behind, the paywall. I'll just put it all out there. But I don't know. I think I don't know if they
I know, the paywall thing is fine, girl. It's like, girl, we have to monetize this shit. Like, I paywall stuff too, and it's just like, yeah,
I think
do you know how much time
I think you get more money in the ad rev than you do in the paywall. That's
not Heather, because Heather was one of the first people on Patreon. Like, that's, Heather's a big deal, and Heather was one of the first people to do the whole Patreon thing. I don't know how much she's making on Patreon. It's a fucking lot. It's more money than she would ever make on ad revenue. 100%.
I agree. Storm said people have to stop sending hate to people and just not follow, listen, watch. Yeah, I agree. Listen, I wouldn't have Jacques on the pod. Like, we talked about this before, and I didn't realize so many like anti-Heather people were going to be in the live chat today.
It's full on. It's full on. That's why, because when I did my first, yeah, because when I first talked about it, which is like, I have like a small niche podcast. Like, I'm not trying to, and I just like to talk about Heather because I find it, like I said, she's like Valerie Cherish to me, and I like to follow her things, and it was just for my followers. And then I realized I was being like screenshotted on these, hate Heather McDonald hate pages, and who is this guy, and he's like trying to get clout off of her and all of this stuff. And my followers say to me as well, because I've copped it from my followers too, and they go, why do you defend Heather? She hasn't had you on her show, etc. People go, why hasn't Heather had you on her show? Why isn't she on her?
Jacques, you can go on her show and talk about your childhood trauma.
Girl, stop. The thing, that doesn't matter to me, because I'm like, this is honestly what my opinion of it is, as someone in the industry. I think things have been twisted. It doesn't matter if she has me on her show or not. I'm not doing it to get on her show. This is what I think. And like I said, when this dust settles, I think people are going to look at this differently, and they're going to, Justin as well, this will piss people off. Gay guys are dramatic. Yeah. Zack and I we're very dramatic, and Zack and I are both very reactive and can be very messy and stuff. Like, I was even flipping out because when I saw that I was getting troll comments on some, Juicy Scoop hate page, I was like, and one of the people on there is from my Patreon. I'm like, get the fuck off my pay. I don't want your $5. Like, if you're a hater, like, get the fuck off my Patreon. But I feel like Justin Martindale kind of just had this big gay dramatic reaction, and I think he went way too far, and I think he might even regret it later. And he was on his Instagram stories, I saw, making fun of her for like misspelling glad. He was like, oh, because she spelled it like I think it's 2 A's or 2 D's, so she got that part wrong. And he's like, oh, this is an ally. Like, he's really leaning into this thing of like, she's not an ally, she's, bigoted or whatever. And I just think that's so fucking foul. As soon as you fall out with someone, to go straight to that card. And he did not give you guys the full story. Like, that drag queen PSA, like, it's right there in black and white. He did not give you the full story on that. He did not say she let me promote it. He did not say she asked me about it on her show. He did not say she put a link for it. He did not say that she just didn't feel comfortable doing a PSA about a specific law in fucking Tennessee because she doesn't have a political show. So he is misrepresenting a lot of fucking stuff.
Yeah, listen, I agree with that, and listen, we're dramatic as well. And listen, there are times where I'm doing things and Jacques will be like, listen, you need to tame it down. You're being a little crazy right now. You're being a little too messy right now. And so I think he's in his feelings. I do think he has some valid points. I do think that Heather has her moments. And listen, I've never had an an issue with Heather, but we know because we've talked about this recently that there was like this alleged Instagram live where like she threw shade at me. And I will say several people have come to me, several people that I don't think would ever talk to each other, friends and just supporters have come to me and told me that same story. Heather herself has told me that that never happened. So I've just chosen to take her word at face value and believe that she did not shade me. I also know that we talked about doing, some sort of podcast crossover. She said that she was willing to do it after her travels were done, which is going to be about September. I tried to follow up with her after Sheena's show, after she had Adam on her show, or before I knew she had Adam on her show. And it doesn't seem like she seemed willing or open to having that crossover after all. So I don't know. I've tried to have a really good relationship with Heather. My point being, I don't like Heather. I don't dislike Heather. I have no issue with Heather. I've always been supportive of her ever since watching her on Chelsea Lately. I didn't know Justin before. I had no idea who he was other than seeing him in like TikTok videos of when he was on Heather's show. So my analysis of all of this it doesn't go one way or the other,
Yeah, the main point that I really just want to stress is like, I'm not saying that you can't say that I'm not saying that she handled it all perfectly. And, personally, I don't find her annoying or anything, but I know that a lot of people do. I know a lot of people think she's, egotistic or whatever, all those things. I get that. But you got to put that in one basket. To respond like he did with "you're transphobic," which he was throwing out there and stuff. That is a lot, and especially when you look at the chain of the events of like she was not addressing it. He addressed it publicly first on that fucking radio show. On her Patreon, she wasn't on there trashing him, and then it's like, Kelly Dodd will say, "You want to throw a bomb, I'll throw a nuke," or whatever. Like, he really did that, and that's just not the way to handle something like this. Like, that is just so below the belt, like overreaction. It's so extreme. And yeah, I think Jeff Lewis has a hand in this. I will also say as well, I think we may have talked about this, and I'm not going to name everyone's names, but there is this pod will succeed in stirring the haters up. Yeah, I'm going to cop it. But there is a rivalry in the industry, I'm going to say, between gay men, not all gay men, but gay men and some kind of female comics and stuff. Because I think a lot of gay men, being men, tend to get a lot of opportunities that women don't get. And I think a lot of, like, the thing is, like, Heather was just on Watch What Happens Live recently, right? She should have been on Watch What Happens Live years ago. Like, Juicy Scoop has been a thing for so long. They have had people on that show that are much lesser, way less influential, etc. And I know this isn't just Heather. I know other females in the industry that feel kind of slighted. And then there's a lot of gay guys out here. All they have to do is put on a fucking wig on an Instagram reel and lip sync to Goodbye Kyle, and then they're getting booked left and fucking right, getting all kinds of fucking jobs. And I think there's a lot of women in the industry that feel some resentment towards that, and I think it's very justified. It's like, even if you look at Kathy Griffin versus Andy Cohen, I'm telling you guys, there's a whole thing between women and gay men in this industry, and I think we can see some of it playing out now. And I know there's a lot of Jeff Lewis fans, and I'm a fan of Jeff Lewis's too, but he fucking is behind a portion of this 1,000,000%. He knows exactly what the fuck he's doing. He's making content for his serious show. He's either calculatedly making content for the serious show, or he's just been in the reality bubble for so long and hanging around, Shannon Medore and all these people that are his friends, that he can't help it. And he's just doing it naturally just to make drama, because that's probably why he makes good TV.
Or sometimes I think people just like find themselves in the like, I find myself caught up in the drama, even when people tell me not to engage in the drama. Like, sometimes I can be a little messy, and so I think Jeff Lewis just happens to be one of those people, and that's what makes him great reality TV, is he attracts mess, and we love to watch and discuss.
Yeah, I tell you to reel things back all the time, which is funny because the perception of me is that... Yeah, you never do. The perception of me is that I'm like the hot-headed, crazy person, because I pop off and go on rants and stuff all the time. But like, The actual reality of it is that then behind the scenes, I'm saying, Zach, no, like reel this back in. Like, don't say this. Someone said, what do you think, Heather? I don't know if I'm meant to be reading your comments. I know it's your show, but I'm just like taking over now. So someone said,
I
what
love
do you
the one you conveniently ignored, though.
I didn't. I'm not reading them all because I actually have my glasses off. I'm like squinting. But if there's a shady one at me, I'm happy to address it. But someone said, what do you think Heather Justin can do to fix this? Absolutely nothing. If I was Heather, I would never, are you kidding me? I would never be fucking friends with someone again that when we had a falling out, they went on their fucking podcast and painted me as a transphobic bigot. Like, fuck you. I would never. That's the thing. That is so foul. And I'm kind of like, I can't believe more people aren't clocking that because if people are just like, oh, poor Justin and stuff. No, Justin has every right to get on there and say how he feels. He knows what he is doing in the way that he is putting those things out and mentioning that, he brought up that she is talking about trans issues and stuff on her show because she said a few times things like, she doesn't think that like trans women should be in women's bathrooms or whatever. I'm not trying to get political here, but that view is actually shared by like the majority of people. Like most people feel like that. And he's like framing it as like she's some like fucking MAGA extremist for like not, you know what I mean? Like he knows what the fuck he's doing. And I wish more people could clock it.
I mean, here's the thing. We're reacting to this in the moment because it's happening in the moment. But as you and I both know, there is always going to be more to the story. There's always going to be more that's going to come. Our reaction.
The more to the story is Jeff Lewis having his fucking hand in the pot. That's the more to the fucking story.
I get that. But I mean, more will come out and more will be discovered. And eventually we'll get more of the full story. That like our reactions in response to it now isn't necessarily what the full picture is. And I think people forget that because they like getting caught up in the moment of it.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to have egg on their faces. What are some of the negative comments at me? You said I ignored one. I'm happy to respond to the negative ones.
The only comment that you ignored was they wanted to know what your thoughts were on the Adam situation.
Oh, yes. No, I did say that.
Yeah, you ignored that one intentionally. But no, I mean, listen, there are plenty of...
Can I actually comment on that? Because, yeah, and I don't want to go too deep on it.
You've also checked me a few times on that situation. You're like, you need to rail it in, babe.
Yes. So obviously you're my friend and I'm going to like ride with you regardless. But I don't know.
But also you do know a lot more of the details that I have not released publicly.
Yes.
Yes. So I've come to you several times and opened up to you about things.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny, on the Patreon that I deleted, because I did 2 Patreons about the Heather thing, I talked about the Heather thing, but I said there's a lot of other feuds going on. There's this David Yonta versus Kim D. And I was like, I don't even want to comment on that because he has a reputation. I'm like, and then I said, and there's Zach versus Adam. And I didn't really say that much, but I kind of just said,
What did you say?
No, I said that...
You talked about this on your Patreon.
No, yeah, but not in, like, I didn't give any details or tea or anything like that, but I kind of just said, I was like, I saw that Adam unfollowed me recently, and I was like, I have kind of talked shit. Like, I've said that his show's boring. That's kind of my opinion. I think his show's boring, and I think he has a...
Can I respond to that? Because you used to tell me that so many times before, and what was my response to you every single time you told me he was boring?
You defended him and said that's his thing.
No, I didn't say that's his thing. I said... he has a very different way of doing content, and so I get that you...
And that it works for him.
Yeah, and that it works for him, and that I did not find him boring.
Yes, you did say that. You totally had defended him. And on the Patreon, I kind of said, I kind of regret saying that because I'm like... I was just like, look, Zach and Adam's drama... is their drama. I don't even know Adam. I said, of course, I'm going to ride with my friend because Zach's my friend. I know him in real life. Like, that's whose side I'm going to take. But I'm like, I don't need to like say that his show's boring and stuff like that. I'm like, I should have just said nothing about him and just, I should have, I talk like I just am very unfiltered and I can't help it. And like I feel bad sometimes. Like, girl, that let's not name names, but I message you all the time like, this person's boring, like this show sucks. And like It's actually not that deep. It's just that I don't have a filter, and sometimes the Kelly Dodd comes out and I don't mean it.
I
And
do the same thing, and then I get in trouble for calling people boring. But yeah, that's a side.
yeah, and I just felt, I said that I felt like a little mean because I'm like, girl, I was like, I don't even fucking know Adam. We had a couple of messages before, back and forth. He was perfectly nice to me. Like, he hasn't done anything nice to me. So I was kind of trying to make a point of like, I can stand by my friend without being mean to Adam. And look, in my opinion, he shows boring and he holds back, like he has like a persona that he puts on, but like it works for him. Like, he's doing very well. Like, I get it. And my personality type, I cannot do that because people always say like, oh, they think I'd be controversial for clicks. I'm not.
The question wasn't what are your thoughts of Adam. The question was what are your thoughts of the Zack and Adam beef.
My thoughts on the Zack and Adam beef is that I don't
eating Heather McDonald's asshole, and now you're eating Adam's asshole.
No, I'm not eating it because my thoughts on it is like I should stay out of it, and that I'm always going to side with who is my real friend, which is you. But I think that beef needs to be put to bed, and
I've tried.
Well,
have I not?
I think you and Adam are both.
You're not even friends with Heather McDonald, but you've defended her so hard for the past hour, and now the one time you get to clock in as my friend, you're like, well, now we get to be objective and conservative with our thoughts.
No, this is my objective thing.
I give Jacques shit because this is what I do. It's not that
yes. Big. No, I think you and Adam both fuel it. So I'm not saying that you are the only one that fueled it. Like, he obviously went off at you at that event or whatever. So that's a mess. But I also think I think you both just need to like kill it and not give it life.
I would love to kill it and not give it life anymore.
Yeah, but I am Team Zack, of course, because Zack's my friend.
And I've tried to kill it and not give it life anymore. But when I keep having people come to me with things that they're consistently hearing, or that they're consistently being told about me, and they're being told not to work with me, then yes, I do have reactions to that.
Yeah, well, no, that makes sense. Of course, there's more to it. Like, that's the thing as well. Like, and I genuinely am on team. I'm not saying Heather's perfect, but I'm genuinely on team Heather. But it's like the Zack and Adam situation. Obviously, there's more behind the scenes that not everyone knows. Not everyone's in the industry. Not everyone like gets it. And I feel like that's happening to Heather at the moment. Of some people don't understand how certain parts of the industry work with payments and with people doing who does whose show, and how relationships get murky because it's like we're friends, but we're also like business associates, and there's a lot to it, and there's a lot that people don't know. And, that's my thoughts. But we are Team Zack. Zack is my friend, and we love Zack, and I'm always going to have Zack's back. I guess, look.
Let's asked about it on a YouTube live stream, and then we're going to be right down the middle.
I know, but it's like, okay, so let's not name names, but I message you all the time and I go, this person's boring or whatever. And then there was one person I said was boring.
We were literally just having that conversation. Oh, okay. No, finish this story, please.
Yeah, no. And there was one person that I said, no, this person's like boring. And you were like, no, they're actually like, they're great. They're really nice and stuff. And they never would do anything shady. And then I was kind of like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you're right. And I don't know. I'm trying to hold back a bit because I have the Kelly Dodd in me, which I don't mean to. And I don't need to, like, I just talk a lot of shit and I kind of feel bad about it. And it was just an overall thing that I was trying to say, because, you can say things about people and then when you actually get to know them or whatever, it's like, oh, they're not that bad, or they're boring for a reason because they're making
no, and then you accused me of having a crush on that person, and you thought that my judgment was clouded because you're like, I think you have a crush. I was like, no, I don't have a crush on that person. I genuinely know this person and know their heart and love this person. I don't think I have a crush on them, and I gave you all the reasons why I love and adore that person.
Yeah, you definitely had to. You had to really spell it out because I was starting to be convinced, like, are you like trying to fuck this person? Like,
No.
you seem to be in love with this person
I
secretly.
only try to fuck my best friend's husbands.
No, but like, no, I agree with you now because then because I remember I was like, oh, I hope I got it in my head that, guys, I'm sorry this is so vague. We just can't say who these people
Yeah.
are. But I was worried that this person might do something shady because I am like controversial. And you were like, no, they would never do that. They're not that type of
There
person.
was an opportunity that Jacques had that he thought this other person may cock block that opportunity, a business work opportunity, because of, Jacques' opinions. And Jacques came to me and he's like, hey, do you think this person would ever like try to cock block me? And I was like, no, that person is literally like one of the sweetest people I know. And that's not a fake persona online. That's truly who this person is. And like I would ride for them just as much as I would ride for you.
Yeah. And I totally
Jacques
took
like,
your word for it.
and Jacques like, you totally want to fuck him. And I was like, no, I actually, these are the reasons I actually love this person. And these are the specific examples of how this person has shown up for me. So I know that this person would never do that to you.
Yeah, and no, and I took your word for it, and I totally believe you, and I don't have a problem with that person. But the thing is as well with this industry, and people should think about this with Justin Martindale too. Some of these people that you think are like so sweet, and they come off like the nicest person on their show, and they're so innocent, like they're
Yeah.
not the nicest behind the scenes. Like
No,
they are
they're
not
not.
perfect.
No,
Yes,
they're not.
and I
That's
feel like everyone's so quick to be like, well, Heather's annoying, but like, Justin's like the sweetest. Maybe he is, girl. I don't know him in person, but I'm just like, not everyone is always what they appear on camera. And I don't know. I don't think that Justin's the sweetest by the way he went about this because I'm like, that's a very ugly side of somebody. Like I was saying at the top of this show when we started talking, I was like, Zach, I'm like, if I had a falling out with you, would I talk about it and stuff? And I'm like, maybe I would, but I just would never come on and then start
no.
going, well,
I think
Zack Peter's transphobic.
if we ever had a falling out, I think we are both savvy enough to maybe lean into the shade of it and like, play it up because obviously it would help our shows and it would help the audience. But also, I think eventually we know we would find our way back to each other and we would never take low blow shots like that.
Exactly. We would never go that low.
Yeah, we would never go that low or make accusations like that because I think at the end of the day, there is a mutual respect. And I've never, even when I've had little tiffs or beef with other people, I've never gone that low with other people. I've only gone based off of my own experience with people and and I leave it at that. And so anything I say is like, this is my experience. And I never try to malign anyone's character outside of my own interaction and experience. And I'm very mindful of not trying to mislead people to believe something about a situation that,
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I just wish I want people to get the takeaway with
Chris Franchola is doing a podcast drop tonight too.
Well, I think he's going to be Team Heather. So I don't think he's going to. Look, I don't know. Maybe they'll be. And shut up, Jack. Girl, oh my God.
Who's Jack?
I think I saw her, that avatar. I think she was a Heather hater. I saw her in like your chat yesterday or something. Does Jazz have a specific question that I can respond to?
I don't know. Oh, was she getting mad at you? I thought she was getting mad at me. Well, either way, whoever she was getting mad at, she spelled the name wrong.
Yeah.
I thought she was yelling at me.
I feel like she's yelling at me.
Well, I don't know. You and I are just so good at internalizing negative comments.
I know. Well, yeah, we get it so often. But again, like, Justin's had negative comments too, guys. This isn't his first rodeo. But listen, so I wasn't defended. Okay, girl.
Any closing thoughts about the situation?
No. I mean, I feel like I'll get off this and then I'll be like, oh my God, why didn't I say about this part? Someone said, I think Chris put in his Patreon comments that he wouldn't tolerate hate about either friend. Yeah. And Justin definitely has a side to it. I just want people to understand that it's not that I think that his side is completely invalid. I just think that he had a massive overreaction. And I think in the way that he chose to go about it, went so far below the belt of like, you can never come back from that. And people aren't seeing it now because, a lot of people hate Heather. There are hate pages dedicated to her with thousands of people in them now. She is the biggest in this kind of pop culture space, she's definitely like the biggest or one of the biggest. She's, an A-lister in this kind of pop culture podcast space. And when you get successful, people want to bring you down, and some of it can be justified of like, hey, this person's not so perfect, but some of it is just hate. And I think she's just in that moment, and people have been waiting for a long time to get her on something. And this is what they feel like they can get her on, but it's going to blow over. And I stand firm in the fact that looking back at this, it's not going to be looked at in the same way that it's being viewed as now, and people are going to have a lot more sympathy for Heather. Similar to the falling out that she had with Chelsea Handler many, many years ago, when Chelsea Handler went on Howard Stern and said she sold stories about me, blah, blah, blah. That took years, but then eventually people looked at that and they were like, no, we're actually Team Heather, and Chelsea Handler's kind of a bitch, and they took things out of context and all of that.
Yeah. So Jazz did finally post a question, and I want to respond to it before you do. She said, Jacques, why are you so against Justin? I don't think that it's that Jacques is against Justin. As your friend, I feel like you always try to look at you always like to play devil's advocate, and I think this is what gets you in trouble sometimes, is that you do like to look at things objectively, but then even when you look at it objectively, you like to play devil's advocate, and you like to lean on the other side of things without people fully understanding that I don't think you hate Justin. I don't think you dislike Justin. I don't think you like the way he went about it, because you can see the transparency. You can see right through what he was doing. He was trying to make waves and trying to intentionally make Heather look bad, whereas I think when Heather first talked about it on her Patreon, I don't think she was trying to make Justin look bad. I think she was just being Heather. And sometimes Heather can be her own worst enemy, and she can, make waves all for herself. But I don't think Heather was trying to malign Justin's character. But I do think with some of the accusations that Justin was putting out there, he was trying to hurt Heather. And maybe that comes from a place of him genuinely feeling hurt himself, but I don't think you're so against him as much as you can see through what he was trying to do, which if you do remove yourself from it and you try to not look at I'm Team Heather, I'm Team Justin, you can see that he was clearly trying to hurt Heather.
And I know how people that, hate me or hate our opinion on this are going to respond. They're going to go, he didn't actually say she was transphobic. He didn't actually say. The implication was there. If you're not clocking that, you're just being willfully ignorant. That's what the whole point of it was. And that's why I do have some smoke for Justin, because I just feel like you can fall out with someone. You can talk about the details of the falling out if you want to, but there's a way to go about it, especially if you have a long-time relationship with them, and there's a way not to go about it. And for him to go about it in that way that felt calculated is like, that's like unforgivable. It is, what are they saying? We love you, and this whole thing has brought out emotions in the podcast world, including its listeners. Forgive us, Heather haters. Heather didn't speak with vitriol like Justin did. Yes, girl, that's a good point. She didn't. And you know what? I think Heather could talk with vitriol now. Like, I mean, I would be so fucking pissed if I was her. I'll be so pissed at Jeff Lewis. I'll be so pissed at the twisting of the facts. But like I said before, she's damned if she does, damned if she doesn't. If she comes on and does the emotional podcast and fucking pissed off and goes, let me tell you really about Justin, and, how people are just going to go, oh, she's deflecting, she's playing the victim, what a bitch. Like, and then when she tries to pull back and she just does a brief podcast addressing where she's like, I'm just going to read off a script and hit a few of the fact points, people think, oh, she's emotionless. She must be lying because you're not getting all the minutiae of it. So it's like she kind of just has to cop it on the chin at this point and then wait to be vindicated over time, which could take years, but I think she will be.
Listen, at the end of the day, like these sorts of scandals and the heat and the drama of it all, it always dies down in the end. It doesn't stick forever. You kind of just have to go through the fog in the moment, and eventually the fog clears. Everybody's talking about it right now because it's pressing right now. I mean, I don't get why there's so much beef in the podcast or YouTube world at the moment. Everyone's saying it's Mercury.
Yeah, no, that is true. Like, it's funny. I always I'm known to drag people
beefing with somebody right now, like.
That's the thing. I think that's a misconception about me is like, I'm definitely known to like, I've dragged podcasters before. I'm very super opinionated, but I've actually never done it to someone where it's like we had a relationship. It's like someone that I don't really know. And I'm like, that was so fucked up that this podcaster went on their show and like, did this. So I called that out and, I won't name people, but there's people that I felt like they did heinous things and I've called it out. But if it was someone that I have a relationship with, which I don't think I've fallen out with anyone I really. Oh, there was one person I sort of had a thing, but I never, like, once you have a relationship with someone, like, you can't just then come and just like destroy them because you have to have respect for what you had. For, even if you've fallen out now, you have to have some sort of respect for the friendship that was there and not get down in the mud because then once you do, it just becomes a back and forth. Like, I've talked to you. Someone get Sarah Galley, girl. I do like to make fun of Munchausen and Sarah Galley, but I oh, Mercury is in retrograde. Yeah, I think that could be part of it. I've told you, Zach, and I haven't gone into full detail of it just because it's like you don't know this person, so it doesn't matter. But I was friends with a big podcaster in Australia, and I've told you, I've referenced this before when you've had your stuff. And oh my God, someone just said Jeff took full advantage of this mess to pay back Heather for defending Brandy and Julie. Bingo. Yes, we have some people in the chat that can see what's going on. Let's rewind to that. When Brandy and Julie had their falling out with Jeff, Heather Heather said she was being neutral publicly. She's like, I'm friends with everyone. I'm being neutral. But she was sort of unofficially taking Brandy and Julie's side. She had them back on her show. I think she was probably secretly really glad to not have to share them with Jeff Lewis anymore because they were kind of her girls. I also think, again, going back to the point that I made, I hope people are still listening, about women and gay men having beef together in this industry. I think it was like women sticking together. She had Brandy and Julie back on, and Jeff is fucking getting revenge right now. For that. So the person that clocked that is for real. But what I was just saying before is, I had a falling out with a big podcaster here in Australia who's like one of the top podcasters. And there is so much I could say about the girl. There is so much I could say about this person. And I haven't done it because we had a friendship for several years. And I'm just not going to then, when I fall out with someone, air out their dirty laundry and go, well, you don't know this and this and this about this person. Like, that's just foul. And that's what fucking Justin did. So I would never do that.
I don't think I've done what Justin did.
No, I don't think you've done what Justin did either. And your situation that you had with Adam was there was a back and forth that people kept making comments, and then, I think you guys as well, with you and Adam, and I think that you both had fans getting involved and running back to each of you, going, well,
a lot of people like really got involved in that situation, and I think we were getting to a good place, but because other people were getting involved, it like ended up really blowing things up.
And that's partially what happened with Heather and Justin, of people screenshotting her Patreon, which, by the way, like, I know people are still doing that. If you pay, it's behind the paywall for a reason. Pay and look at it there. You don't take things on Patreon and put it on a Facebook group. But that is something people have done that with Heather and Justin.
And that is something that I learned, is like, you cannot engage, like, people are always like, we're in a world where we all love reality TV, so people love the drama, and people want to keep pushing the drama. So I think, and I've had to learn this lesson of like, people want to continue to ignite things between me and other people, not that situation specifically, but like, people are always going to want to fan flames and make things so much bigger than they actually are because it's enjoyable for them. But and I made this comment the other day on my live, as I was like, we don't need to continue to perpetuate any of that, because it's like, yes, it's fun for you to add fuel to the fire and it makes the fire bigger. But at the end of the day, who are you really burning? You're burning the two people that are involved in the situation. And at some point, I want to believe that you care about at least one of the two people in the situation, if not both. So putting fuel into the fire only hurts people that you claim to like or care about. And it's an unfair position to put us in.
Yeah, and that people just thrive off the drama. Like, I really don't like the way people get involved and want to run back messages to creators and start things with them. Like, it's fucked up, and it definitely contributes to a lot of these beefs. I mean, that contributes to fights that housewives have with each other. I think there's so many times a housewife gets a comment from a fan going, well, she said this in this interview, and it's clipped out of context, and then it
Yeah.
spirals into a
It
thing.
happens.
It's just a
Yeah,
mess.
it happens all the time. Rachel says, I need a reality show about Bravo podcasters. I think that would be a really great reality
I think
show.
it would.
Who knows?
I do think Jeff Lewis and y'all trash. Girl, shut up.
We are trash. I don't claim to be. People are always like, when people come in the comments, they're like, you're not classy, Zach. I'm like, bitch, I was never classy. Where you been? Like,
I know.
When
Zach,
ever give you the impression that I was classy?
Zach, some fucking Karen with a fucking cat photo
Oh,
said that I'm trash.
photos.
Can you put a statement out defending me, because I'm just getting so much hate right now, and I just think you really need to go on your platform and like defend me.
Listen, I will always defend you because I do love you at the end of the day, and you know I feel like I've defended you a couple of times in this live chat.
No, you have. And I defend Heather all the fucking time. Trust me. People get in my.
You literally defended Heather and Adam more than you defended me in this entire live stream. You came on my show to defend everybody but me.
No, I defend. No, because I get it. I was just the point. I was trying to make a point about you and Adam. I don't want to. People love the mess on YouTube. Zach, you'll be perfect on Jeff Lewis Live. I agree. You should be on Jeff Lewis's show.
I was literally told that he has no clue who I am, and that would never happen. I was like, okay.
Well, yeah, I guess you're probably not in his demo.
I guess not. I'm not, well, I guess Justin Martindale's not in his demo either. You're literally thriving on the drama room, but now. I mean, listen.
Oh, it's the cat lady. I don't know. She's just a loser.
Believe it or not, in regards to Adam versus Zach situation, it is possible. It's like, I agree, and I tell people not to dislike. Listen, I've defended Adam to Jacques so many times. This is an entire Reddit thread, people posting Heather's Patreons in a negative way. I mean, listen, and that's just annoying. It really is. A big brother with only podcasters. Listen, the drama is real.
I think people are scared to have a beef with me because they know I don't fuck around. That's why I think no one started a beef with me.
Yeah, fuck around and find out.
Yes, bitch.
It's okay to disagree and clarify if it doesn't mean you can forgive later. You just are honest now. Yeah, I feel like I'm a very forgiving person, and I would be willing to forgive anybody. I need Jacques in the US writing articles about this. I agree.
I know, right?
Okay, any other closing thoughts before we wrap this up? We have a lot in the live chat, but any other closing thoughts?
No, is there any troll comments we should respond to?
Oh my god, there's so many. I mean, listen, it's been blowing up.
Put a negative comment up.
Oh,
I'm fine. You don't have to protect me. Yeah.
Oh, here's a nice one. Sandra said she's a new fan of Jacques. See, you've won people over. Where can we find Jacques?
Follow me on Instagram at Unpopular JP. You're putting all these nice ones up when I told you.
They're literally the only ones that are coming in now. All the mean people. Once I told people to get the fuck out of the comments if you don't care, they left, and now we only have nice comments.
Yeah, you can follow me at Unpopular JP on Instagram, and then my link tree for my my podcast is there. We've recorded a lot. You probably have a lot of new fans because you've been blowing up, but because we haven't done a thing for a while. Because we used to record a lot more often. But yes, the people love it.
We've had a solid 800 people in the live stream tonight.
Oh wow, that's big. Oh, everyone's being so nice to me. Thank you.
Now they're being nice to you. They were trust me. Once you pop off on the trolls, and they pop out.
Yeah, I'm waiting for all.
Here's one.
What flavor Kool-Aid did Heather give you? Yeah.
Great.
I don't know. Yeah, people are going to think that I'm her mouthpiece or whatever. Shark Patreon is oh, thank you. Yes, well, I do. So, guys, let me plug my podcast then. I have a podcast, Unpopular. I kind of just talk about whatever I want. Sometimes it's personal rants. Sometimes it's just pop culture things. Sometimes it's Bravo. I cover housewives exclusively on my Patreon for the most part, which really it's actually a big part of why I put that on Patreon was to get rid of trolls, because the housewives actually it does attract a lot of troll type people that like to start drama, and I just Can't stand it. Oh my god, people. Oh yeah, Mum to Mateo. I love her. She's a follower of mine. Oh, people are saying I seem nice. That's funny. Well, I don't know if you guys all think I'm so nice after you hear my pod. I do go there. Get a little unhinged at times, but I am nice. Zach, aren't I nice in real life? You can attest.
I feel like you're way nicer than I am. Jacques has to reel me in so many times. I'm like, Jacques, I want to post this tweet. I want to pop off. I just saw this. I want to post this. He's like, calm down. He's like, no, do not post that. Do not do this. And then I'm like, okay. And then 2 seconds later, I'm like, I posted it. And he's like, girl, stop.
That's why I end up feeling bad when I do come out here and I go, Up and Adam's boring or whatever, or this person sucks. And I'm like, it's like the Kelly Dodd, but I don't know. I mean it, but like I don't know how to explain it. Like, I just feel like you don't have to say everything you think, but then I can't help it sometimes.
Same.
Yeah. Oh, Jacques, you're on Popular JP. I started following you yesterday. Thank you. Well, I started getting new followers from this Heather beef, and then I actually deleted a lot of the stuff I had posted about it just because it wasn't the kind of fans I want. Not talking about you guys. You guys are great. But I was getting the people from these Heather McDonald hate pages that were just trying to get like tea, and I don't know, it was crazy. I had one yesterday from Sweden lecturing me about vaccines. I'm like, girl, don't talk to me about this. And then she wouldn't stop. I'm like, this is not the energy that I'm trying to get.
You need to cut that energy out. You cannot engage with that.
I know. It's just a lot. But that's what Heather was trying to tell Justin. Cut it out,
No, but there are ways to support your friends without,
Yes, there are. I don't hate you, Jacques. It's just a majority of what you said. That's nice. I can rock with that. I'm not used to having nice comments. Wow.
There's so many people love you.
I was actually kind of thinking to myself, like I was excited to come on here because I did want to come out and defend Heather, so I was looking forward to it. But I was thinking I was going to get a lot of hate just based on I'm sure they'll post this on that fucking Reddit page, and then I'll get some hate there. Did Kelly Dodd talk shit about you?
That's what somebody said. I mean, listen, but people said that Heather McDonald talked shit about me, and several people recounted exactly what happened, but Heather told me that did not happen. And again, I'm choosing to take Heather's word at face value and hope that we can still have a good.
Well, you messaged me about that at the time, and I defended her, and you said you should be on her PR team. And I said, first of all, you haven't even seen. I said you haven't seen the comment that she said. So you're getting the hearsay, and you said it was verified by independent sources. And I said, if that happened, I just don't think Heather goes out to say mean things like that. So I feel like she probably had too many wines. She was probably on someone's live. She responded, and it was a light shade that's now being twisted.
Flippant comment. Yeah, and that's why, again, I've chosen to take what she said at face value.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that she has not addressed our possible podcast crossover. I'm a little salty about it in the moment just because, I want to come and talk about my childhood trauma and my crazy hotel stories.
If Kelly Dodd said anything bad, she talks shit about everyone, but you just have to love her for it because that's just Kelly Dodd.
I love Kelly Dodd for that, but that's another one that also, collaborates with people.
Oh yeah, well, can I say about Kelly Dodd? She's obviously so controversial. I was in LA in April, and I hung out with a bunch of people, including Kelly Dodd, and she was one of the nicest people that I met there. I mean, there were other housewives that I'm friends with that I thought I was friends with, and they didn't make time to see me or anything. Kelly Dodd had me over to her house. Her and Rick took me bike riding. They paid for all my drinks. They showed me all around Newport. They drove me in their car around all of OC, gave me a freaking guided tour of the OC. They could not have been nicer. So it's just people have perceptions about certain people going, well, that goes both ways. People think Kelly Dodd must be the most horrible person. People think that, whoever, some other squeaky clean podcaster is the nicest person, but no, they may not be. Just there's more than what you see on, YouTubes and podcasts.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, I think it's important that so much of the conversation right now is so anti Heather McDonald that I think it's important to hear other sides, and it's important to when you have somebody challenge your own thoughts, your own opinions, or your own perspective of what you think of a situation, I think it only, for intellectual people, it only helps you, like, really process and look at things from a bigger picture. And I think a lot of people responding really well to our convo is a good thing.
I'm glad. I feel like maybe it was tough at the start, and then as we
It was
kept
tough at the
going,
start, but listen, and then eventually cuckoo birds go fly back to the coop, and then the real intelligent people are still here.
Yeah, thank you, BTF Phoenix. I mean, I'm used to getting the hate for it. It just pisses me off the most when people say that I have a fake contrarian opinion on things, which, like, I literally don't. Like, that's me. And people think that I do it for clicks, and it's like, no, it actually makes my... Like, someone was saying I was trying to get clicks from Heather and Justin, and I messaged you about it, Zach, and I'm like, girl, the last podcast that I did, I spent half of it talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, I'm not the video game that I've been playing. Like, I'm not picking topics to get fans. Like, I talk about what I want to talk about, and if it's defending Heather, it's defending Heather.
I mean, yeah, Jacques got to hang out with Crystal in Beverly Hills too. Can you tell her to unblock me? Tell her, like, I literally don't dislike her and she has me blocked. I mean, you've told me all the reasons she has me blocked, but I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, I genuinely like her. I made one shady comment about her and she blocked me.
Yeah, I know. I think she's cool now. I've told her, I'm like, no, Zach's cool. But, I think you were talking shit about her for a while, and it's hard,
about her at the reunion, and let's be clear, she fucking bombed at the reunion, and I stand by anything I said about that. But if it hurt her feelings, like, here's the thing. I just saw Teddy and Tamara in Vegas, and they were very much like, you've said this about me, and I was like, okay, but, like, it's not that deep. Like, you guys understand, and, like, we had a common ground conversation, and we were cool.
Someone said that they disagree with the saying Jeff is attractive. Let me say the thing about Jeff. I used to never look at him as like, I think Jeff's hot. I don't think Zach really said that he was, I don't know. I think, but I think that,
I said I would sit on his face. Well, I
yeah,
said
that you said that about everyone, literally. The thing about Jeff, I was talking about this with one of my friends. Like, I feel like people think that Jeff is like this super effeminate queen. I don't look at him like that. I actually look at him as having masculine energy, because I think he's so successful and he's such a boss and he's so kind of opinionated and stuff. I think because he has the big lips and that, people think that he's just some like flouncy queen. But I actually think he comes off very... I don't actually have daddy issues. I usually like guys my own age or a few years younger.
I have it's so weird. I feel like I think I have daddy issues, and then I find out some of the guys that I end up in entanglements with, and I'm like, wait, that's so the opposite of daddy issues. I feel like, I mean, at least of two of them that, like, I just feel like two
that I never would have, that I didn't approve of, and I warned you about, because I have good intuition on people. One of the people you had an entanglement with, don't you feel like my assessment of them early on was like fairly spot on?
Which one, the first one or the second one?
The one that keeps making drama and reeling you back in.
Okay.
I warned you about that like 10 times, and then you'll message you back and go, oh, they did. And I'm like, yeah, I said they were going to do this. Like,
I mean, I haven't. Well, I will. You're not wrong. You haven't been wrong. You have not. Jacques has always proved correct in the end.
And you know what? Even the people that I call boring, they are boring. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person, though. But I'm still right in calling them boring. Yes.
Jazz says you need someone to defend Justin as hard as Jacques is defending Heather to get away. No, but here's the thing. The whole internet is defending Justin so hard. That's why I was like, nobody is defending Heather. That somebody needs to come on. Like, we need to have the conversation that nobody else is having. Everybody's going to have someone on their podcast that's, eating Justin's asshole. That, like, we need a little bit of a reverse situation.
Yeah. No, 100%.
That's what you can expect from my show or from Jacques' shows. We're always going to give you,
Yeah, and by the way, you mentioning that, I bet in the coming weeks, every little rinky-dink fucking ambulance chasing flop Bravo pod is going to have someone on of like, my experience with Heather, she was rude to me backstage, and it's going to be a free-for-all. Like, I already saw, right? Again, I'm a long-time listener of Heather's, so I've heard all the sides on all of her various beefs over the, 8 years. People are like rehashing this falling out she had with some female comedian like 5+ years ago. And of course, they're only bringing out this woman's side. They're not showing Heather's side to that. And of course, there is always two sides to a story. But right now, the hate train for Heather's so strong that people are like bringing up every issue she's ever had with anybody. And then, of course, they're only showing that person's side and not Heather's side.
The real juicy scoop is when we found out Jeff Lewis and Heather kissed in college on Watch Them Live.
I didn't know that, but that is
You
juicy.
didn't know that? They revealed that on Watch What Happens Live, that they made out. I also love the fact that we're like an hour and 45 minutes into this convo and we've still we're at 7:55 live in the live stream right now. Like we've kept that consistency despite the fact that we've stopped really talking about Heather and Jeff and started talking about like my entanglements in your Twitter trolls.
Yeah, well, people are obsessed with this Heather thing right now. Like the engagement's
we're not
off
even
the chain.
talking about the Heather stuff, and we're still keeping a good, solid audience. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, talking about all the people that you have sex with that you shouldn't be.
I know. Well, I did not have sex with the first one. I did have sex with the second one.
I can't even remember who the first one was, girl.
You'll remember when we talk about it off the pod.
Okay.
You're gonna be like, oh yeah, and then I'm like, yeah. But you were right about that one too. But the thing is, they're both very similar, and but I think I have daddy issues, but neither of them are daddy energy.
You know what's so funny though is the energy I always get. I think I've said this to you. I get like asexual energy from you because because I find you to be like such a girl boss and so about your business and your brand that I see you as like this workaholic that doesn't even have time to think about sex. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I see you in that light. Like I don't even see you going out and like I can barely even imagine you like being in love with somebody or being honestly, like, this is my husband. Like I can't picture it.
I couldn't tell you the last time I came. Like I'm sure it wasn't that long ago, but like I literally I was having this conversation. We had a boys' weekend in Vegas, and I was having this conversation with them at the table, and I'm like, and they like thought I was so weird because I was the only single one in Vegas. And even them, they were all talking about like Erica's show. She had these hot dancers in it, and they were like, "Oh my god, he's so hot! Oh my god, he's so hot!" And I was like, I literally like can't even like I'm enjoying the show and I'm enjoying my vodka soda. Like I can't even like get to that physical headspace. I mean, that's not to say I haven't had sex recently, but like I barely even like want to have sex with myself.
Well, there's a lot of gay guys that it's like all they think about. Like literally they wake up every day and there is like, how can I get my dick sucked? Where there are other people that are like, you're like, how can I get some money? You know, like what can I do? What's my next business deal that I can do?
I'm like, David, where are we at? Scott, what's the next deal? I'm like literally like so focused on the business.
100%,
that's why when I come to Jacques with boy drama, he's just like, "What? You talk to boys?" Like, not really, but yeah.
It always surprises me.
I know. Okay, well, let's wrap because I know you got to go, and I didn't expect us to go this long. It just
I actually have to do my taxes. So boring.
Taxes.
I know.
Zach, you have issues with unavailable guys. That's my type. My type is unavailable guys, probably because I'm so unavailable.
I like an unavailable guy too, to be honest.
The best. I'm like, what? I have to face you? I have to prove my worth and my value to you? Please let me prove myself to you so that you can tell me that I'm wrong.
It is true that people in relationships, like they do become more attractive because you see them, like it is a thing.
Yeah.
To be okay. Raquel about
to be a little Raquel about it. Remind everyone where they can go.
Oh yeah, guys. You can follow me at Unpopular JP on Instagram. That's where I am most of the time. And, you know, my link tree's there. So my podcast and my Patreon and all of that. If you want to follow me, we only want nice people. So no trolls. But yes, if you're nice and Team Heather, come follow me.
You're Team Heather and Team Adam. Go follow Jacques. You know I'm going to drag you for that for a minute. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Please go and give Jacques some love. Go and support him. He's a great guy. His content's great. Go listen to his Patreon. Subscribe because he does have good tea. But don't post it on the Reddit. Like when we give you good tea, we want to keep giving you good tea. And we have to be able to do that knowing that we can trust you. So, show him some love. Follow him on Twitter. He's very controversial there, and his Instagram stories always have hot takes. So if you want to drag him, you can slide into his DMs over there. And if you want to give me a follow, or you want to drag me, or you want to slide into my DMs, you can follow me at Just Plain Zack. Follow the podcast at No Filter with Zack, and stay tuned. There'll be another episode that drops on the podcast this Monday, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye, guys.